same group. We're in the same qualifying group as Scotland. We're in alongside Portugal and Sweden, and we have some highs and some lows during the course of that. There, finally beating Israel at Windsor Park to qualify for the competition, just fantastic. So off we set. We're put in the same group as the host nation, Spain, one of the favourites, in with Honduras, that we wouldn't really know a great deal about, but Central American side, and Yugoslavia, and they were called Yugoslavia at that time, who I think certainly in the mid-70s were probably the most talented bunch of players in European football. So and here we are. So we're stationed in Valencia, and yet 2 of the games are going to be in Zaragoza. So we'll fly each morning to these games and then fly back again. But we've drawn against Yugoslavia, drawn against Honduras, which leaves us, we have to essentially win the game against Spain. And I think, I honestly think, obviously, Spain having won the World Cup again, and what was it, 2010?
Yeah.
2010, you'd have to say, maybe this wasn't the most talented Spanish side of all time, but it was still for us, that was going to be a tough ask. And so for me to be the captain of the team that wins this game and takes us into the quarter-final was just fantastic. I mean, you mentioned some great moments in your career, and I had, holding the European trophy aloft, which belongs to the likes of Puskas, Di Stefano and George Best and the Celtic lads, and that was fantastic. And then this moment here beating Spain, to be in to take us into the quarter-finals of the World Cup, just amazing.
Are there glimpses of, you write about the whole experience in the qualifying campaign really well on days like this, your autobiography, but are there glimpses of what the living in the World Cup, living in Valencia was like? Because the heat must have been incredible. You travelled backstage, I know. You're living there in high summer for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably you've no notice of this, but 6 months before, Spain has had a coup. The armed forces have tried to storm, and it's Valencia that the tanks surround.
Yes.
It's really only 6 months before.
Yeah.
Could any of you speak Spanish? What were the locals like? What was Billy Bingham like as a guy interacting with Spaniards?
Well, some really good moments, I must admit, because first of all, the experience is just fantastic. We trained. We did not. My good friend John Robertson, playing for Scotland at the time. Scotland were doing their pre World Cup in Portugal, and we are doing it down at Sussex University.
Practically Spain.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying in Brighton at the time. So the interesting thing about it, Sussex University was actually, the weather was so brilliant that we could have easily been out in Portugal, but that was more luck than judgment. And we had Gerry Armstrong. Gerry was incredibly fit at the time. Bingham had us doing an awful lot of pre-season work, or pre-World Cup work,
which means
like a pre-season running. We did a lot of running.
Gerry liked his running.
Gerry could run. He could run forever.
Can I tell you, Gerry's told me many times he never had a bad game in his life. Just so that we're clear about that.
Well, it's interesting you should say. Well, I might as well go straight to that story, because we were staying in the hotel in Valencia. The phones to the room and trying to phone home, very, very expensive at the time, very expensive. And Gerry, and we obviously want to hear, we're cocooned in Valencia, but things are going well for us, so we really want to hear what people are saying back home. And one of the things that we did get was that just before the competition had started, Jimmy Greaves was asked how Northern Ireland might do, and Jimmy Greaves was very, very funny. He said, I think the Northern Ireland players should pack a toothbrush and an overnight bag, because they'll be coming home soon. And it was kind of funny. But so as the competition is going on, Gerry's doing brilliantly in the competition, and Gerry has befriended a cafe owner about 300 or 400 yards down from the hotel. And of course then Gerry is now the messenger. We're sending him out to find out what's happening, what are they saying about us, Gerry? The news must be really great. And so after we'd beaten beaten Spain. Gerry's sent out again, though it didn't take much for Gerry to go down there. He would have volunteered anyway. And so he's back, he's coming up the road, we're waiting in anticipation. Gerry, what are they saying about us? Saying about you? He said, there's only 3 players in this World Cup. Socrates, Falcao and myself, he said. Which is brilliant.
24 carat Gerry.
Absolutely. Socrates, Falcao and myself. That's Gerry. But he was having the tournament of a lifetime. He was playing great. And of course we had Norman Whiteside as a young kid coming through, the youngest player since Pelé to play in the World Cup. He was essentially a strong boy, really, really strong, good player, and we needed him in the side as well too. He could look after himself, Graham. He was really, Norman's very strong for a 17-year-old, really, really brilliant. And but what we had about the team, we had a good, naturally good spirit, Catholics and Protestants joining in together, and really good spirit, good camaraderie, obviously. And the great thing about us is that we could defend strongly. If we had something to hold on to, we could defend it.